Man, I could have used a dress shirt like this back when I was going to my corporate job.
Oh man, yeah. It's so Nimble Made, we are
Tanya Zhang, who's a co-founder of Nimble Made.
Today we're talking all about the brand Nimble Made. Really excited. Love when we have kind of solopreneur journeys on here from start to finish.
Man, it is really, really hard. Never had any experience.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Did you ever take advantage of paid ads?
I'm ready to turn it off again because I don't like it anymore. Just take it day by day, write down what each step is, and just tackle them.
What can you tell us about where you're at today?
Now we are in the 6 figures annual.
As there's so many people listening who are either working on a side hustle or have dreams of a side hustle, how you persisted in that environment to get this business going when you didn't have another income stream?
I feel like it was just all only.
All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today, we're joined by Tanya Zhang with Nimble Made. Tanya, welcome on board.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here today with us. And today we're talking all about the brand Nimble Made that you founded, created, have gotten it to where it is today. I'm really excited. Love when we have kind of solopreneur journeys on here from start to finish. Although I guess it's not finished. It's in progress here. So it'd be a great day to have you on and listen to all the things you have to share. Can you give us some background on yourself, maybe up to the point that you started Nimble Made so we get to know you a little better?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tanya Zhang. I was born in LA. I am a first generation Asian American to be born in the US. So, I'm a child of immigrant. And I started my career in New York City. I actually worked in advertising as an art director there for a few years at a large global firm. And then from there, I did a little bit of consulting too in the UX, UI space or user experience design. And, definitely dabbled a little bit in the corporate space, also worked a little bit in VC too. And I feel like after all of that, I was kind of like, I don't know if this is really for me. And that's kind of how I made that jump to Nimble Made. But I was very much in the creative space as like a designer, art director of sorts.
Yeah, you're in all the big cities for that. I mean, New York and LA and working with VCs, working with large companies. I'm curious, when did the urge for what became Nimble Made come along? Were you in a high profile job with these big companies, or were you in between jobs?
I was at a high profile company when I had the idea of Nimble Made. I feel like back then when I was working in New York City, it's so easy to kind of get lost in like the hustle and the bustle of things. And eventually you kind of just keep climbing up the corporate ladder, which is totally fine. But then I think it left me kind of thinking at the end of the day, like, oh, wow, this is a lot of hours that I'm sitting here like on this desk doing work for another company, but still kind of yearning something that was a little bit more like fulfilling, I guess, for me to leave a legacy with. And so I was working my full-time job at the time that I started Nimble Made.
Tell people what Nimble Made is, maybe where the idea came from, maybe the kind of the early hours or early days of you piecing this idea together.
Oh man, yeah. It's so Nimble Made, we are a men's slim fit shirt brand with a big emphasis on the slim fit. We started because my partner at the time, he was also working in New York City. He also worked in finance. He is immigrant. He's Taiwanese American. And so he had the slimmer kind of body figure. He's maybe, 5'5" in height, around 120 pounds in weight. And so just a little bit smaller than the average male, I guess, in the US. And as a finance guy in New York, he always had to wear a dress shirt to work. He always had to be presentable in that way. And so it was kind of this like daily struggle of him coming home and telling me like, oh, I have to go, find a new dress shirt again, but nothing really fits off the rack for me. And then doing something that's more custom or bespoke is obviously more expensive when you need to wear a dress shirt every single day. And so he really had this pain point of his that kind of sparked an idea in us, because we were kind of on the side also thinking about trying to start something up for ourselves, writing down business ideas every day. And so we kind of thought about that for a little bit, and we're like, maybe we should just create a slimmer fit for you first. Let's make you the first size. And I don't know, just go from there. I think that when I initially heard of that, heard of his story, it reminded me a lot of my dad, who's an immigrant from China. And he constantly had that struggle too. Like when he was working in the US, he would always say American clothes don't fit him. And I wouldn't say he's like a smaller guy either. You know, he's kind of like 5'8", maybe like 140, 150. So just definitely slimmer, slimmer shoulders, just slimmer overall. And I remember that memory of him saying that he felt kind of excluded from like the American clothing industry. And a lot of, my friends who are slimmer, who are maybe Asian American or not, they would also have that same issue of being like, oh, I'm just like a skinnier guy, and it's kind of hard to find dress shirts or find shirts that don't look so baggy on me. And so I was like, okay, well, that's a good idea. I've heard that a couple of times in my life, and so why don't we just try to make our first size and just go from there.
Hey there, thanks so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Did you know that Jared and I are members of a private group called the Niche Pursuits Community? And today I want to share with you how you can join for just $1. The Niche Pursuits Community is a private members area for niche online publishers to mastermind and grow their businesses together. We hold weekly calls live with experts where you can ask questions. These experts share tips on Amazon Influencer, Google Discover, building email newsletters, getting traffic from Facebook, and other strategies to grow your online business. You'll also be assigned a mastermind group of 4 or 5 other people in a similar stage in business as you. Dive deep into your business issues and get your problems solved. If you use coupon code PODCAST at checkout, you'll get your first month for just $1. Go ahead and give it a try. Come join me, Jared, and lots of other digital entrepreneurs inside my private group at community.nichepursuits.com. And be sure to use coupon code PODCAST. I'll see you on the inside.
Yeah, you probably nailed a larger segment of the population than even you were aware of. I was reading the notes that we had for today and kind of going through your website and stuff. And in many, not all the ways, but in many ways, I'm like, oh man, I could have used a dress shirt like this back when I was going to my corporate job.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it fits that motif of a lot of people. I mean, it's one thing to have the idea, but obviously, I think what we want to drill into today is how you got this off the ground and got it to where it is. What did you guys start making shirts, or did you source them? Or did you know? I mean, I'm just so curious. You have a design background, but starting an basically an e-commerce business is something totally different.
Oh man, I really, really wish I had the fashion experience. I think people think like, oh, you're like a graphic designer, you're art director, like you probably designed these shirts. Man, it is really, really hard. Never had any experience in like garment manufacturing, like fashion, even like textiles. No experience in that whatsoever. I think how my partner and I approached it was just take it day by day. Let's write down what each step is and just tackle them as soon as we can. Also because we were working on our full-time jobs at the time. So kind of, doing the full-time jobs by day, logging back in at night to work on Nimble Made. And so I guess when we first really started, we just thought about the simplest task, which is, can we even make a shirt that fits Wesley, my partner, really well? And so I don't know. I mean, we just Googled it. We're like, okay, how do you find clothing suppliers? Is that even like the right term? And so, we contacted a few manufacturers on Alibaba.com. So we definitely wanted to get them sourced in China just because we knew that it would be more economic for us, especially because we knew we were going to be a bootstrapped business or a self-funded business. So from there, we found a few suppliers through that directory, and then we just reached out and be like, oh, can you send us, a few of your samples? You just want to get an idea of what the quality of the craftsmanship looks like. And I feel like because Wesley my partner wore dress shirts a lot going to work, he kind of like knew the product in a general sense. And I think with my maybe artistic eye, I knew kind of what looked good or didn't look good. And we really kind of just combined those two, those skills together to kind of take our best educated guess at whether or not the quality was good, the craftsmanship was good. And then also just asking friends and family like, oh, this is something that you would buy. This is something that feels good, feels expensive. And then so once we had those samples, we would just work with that one supplier and be like, okay, we're not sorry, but we're not like textile designers or like fashion designers. Here's an Excel sheet. Here's a mood board. Is that something that you could work with? And so luckily we were able to find someone who could kind of like put our vision together with what we provided them.
Can you drill into that a little bit more? Because I think that's for a lot of people listening, maybe who are thinking, this idea sparks something in me. And the first thing you got to do is kind of line up the supply side of things. And that's where a lot of people stumble, trip up, make mistakes, have frustrations, whether it's, not getting a proper sample, whether it's order sizes, whether it's the shipping. So I'm only listing a few that come to mind from my interviewing of people over the years. But how did you navigate that process? How did you find someone, it sounds like, who turned out to be really good? What were some of the, maybe looking back on it, some of the mistakes that were made that you learned from?
I think in terms of setting up that right kind of supplier relationship, I would at the very beginning just send out as many inquiries as possible and just be like, okay, this is kind of what I need. This is this something that you can provide? So for us, I think because we didn't want to deal with all the different parts of the garment, so like the buttons, that's like one whole company that makes just the buttons, or the trims, or like certain like linings within our shirts. Like we didn't really want to deal with any of those kind of like small pieces for now. So we were really focused on finding a supplier that could really do it all, that like all in one, like vertically integrated service. So that's definitely something that on our list where like we made sure to ask every supplier, is that something that they could do? The MOQ, or the minimum order quantity, was very important to us because we didn't want to get stuck with thousands of units in like a garage or in a storage unit and also just be out a ton of cash. And so having a really low MOQ is also one of the really important requirements for us. And so I think the third thing is also just the communication. As you're kind of sending those initial emails or messages or WeChats or WhatsApp, I think it's really important to see if like the communication is working well for you guys. I think for us, because we wanted to source in China, we wanted to make sure that they were an English speaker or like a typer at least, that where we could kind of communicate effectively. I think because Wesley and I lacked that kind of like technical design when it came to the garment, we wanted to make sure, there's already some stuff that's kind of getting lost in translation. We want to make sure that their English was like just really good, and you can kind of just know that based off that hopefully daily, communication.
That's a good list. That's a lot of things that people can use to consider. Well, let's talk about, I don't know, it feels like the next step is to talk about kind of the early days of growth. What year was this, by the way? When did you start Nimble Made? I didn't ask that.
Yes, that's a great question. So we started in 2018. So
Okay.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations. 2018. Okay. So this is all happening, but maybe this is a good time to transition. You tell me if you think so, but into like the early days of growth. And where do you get your first client from? How do you start marketing this?
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like looking back, it's just really nostalgic just to see how far we've come. Again, I wish that we had, like more marketing experience, even though I had some advertising experience. That's very like a siloed like role. I think that we did pretty well when we first started because our brand Nimble Made came with such a strong brand narrative. I think a lot of the times when we were explaining our brand messaging to people, we were approaching it from, this is something that Wesley struggles with. This is something that my father struggled with. And so it became something that is really, really personal to us, and something that we wanted to work really hard and create a product that we were really proud of, that serves a purpose. and serves a community. And so I think just from our kind of messaging or how we like told even just friends and family, that was something that they really resonated with or they felt really inspired by. And so I think that initial kind of push out, which is, validating the idea in our close, small circles and getting their response, it made it inspired us to want to actually, keep working on it. And so I think that was kind of like the first thing, was kind of just running it by, all of our friends and family. Is like, is this something that resonates with you? Is this something that you would buy? How much would you buy this for? Like, how much would this be worth to you? And so after that, and again, we had been working corporate jobs at the same time, logging in back at night to work on Nimble Made and the website, getting the first samples, getting the first small batches of inventory. Eventually, it came, I think it was like maybe 6 months after we had that initial idea. We had done all those kind of small steps on our list. So we had like a live domain, a website. We had inventory, a small batch of inventory. We had them photographed. They were live. You can literally, check out like on the website and buy something. And I think at that point, Wesley and I both looked at each other and we were like, oh, I think it's time to maybe quit our jobs. I don't know if it felt right to us at that moment. And so we did that. So that took around 6 months time. So we were a little bit on, I would say, maybe a more expedited process, because we like to hustle. We like to work fast. But from there, we did like a little cute kind of quaint launch party in New York City, and I think that also really helped us spread the word within our community.
So all word of mouth marketing off the ground, and you quit your job 6 months in. Wow. That is, was it making decent money? Like, was it paying your bills at that point? Where was it at when you walked away?
It was making no money. I know. Yeah.
No,
I think looking back,
you have a success story here. I can't rewrite history. That's crazy in so many ways. You guys did that, but I can only imagine it also gave you so much time and energy to propel the business forward.
Yes, I know. I think looking back, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I guess everything happens for a reason, right? So we were definitely making like no money. Maybe like some friends and family had bought like one-off on the website, sure. But we were kind of like, it was just taking so much time already, and we were so tired. And I think both of our corporate jobs were more demanding than most. We were probably at like 55 hours a week at our full-time jobs. And so we were already kind of tired and burnt out, and just felt like we couldn't give it the right amount of attention unless we quit our jobs.
Yeah, it makes sense. More power to you. I mean, I always like to ask this question more in the front end of the interview, just to get people perspective as we start to kind of unwind some of the things you've done to grow this brand. Like, what can you tell us about where you're at today? Any sort of numbers or whatever you want to go after to kind of tell us, just to give everyone listening like a picture of, hey, it's been 6 years. Where is this brand at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So now we are in the 6 figures annual revenue. We have, from an SEO perspective or traffic perspective, we have around, I'd say, last 30 days, like 90K plus page views, I'd say. Social is not like the biggest channels for us, but we have social channels going as well. And so we definitely have a we have like a decent size online presence for sure.
You rank for a lot of really good keywords, I have to say. And I was kind of checking that out, preparing. I saw your article, "What are Slacks?" and thought, that's a good question. I could use an answer to that myself.
Yeah.
So don't have to wear them too much nowadays that I work from home, but it's a valuable question. So, okay, cool. So congratulations. Obviously, it's come a long ways in those 6 years. I know we have on our roadmap to talk about a lot of the different things you guys did once you got out of that initial launch phase. A lot of things you guys did to grow this, and I think that's really where it gets super interesting. Maybe open-ended question: what were some of the initial successes you had with growing this, this D2C site and brand after that initial launch? After you kind of were relying on friends and family.
I would say some of those initial successes or wins that we had were definitely in that kind of in that press space a bit. So because we we really kind of pushed the word of mouth marketing through that brand narrative by telling our story. And this, like, we're Asian Americans, we're doing this, for slim guys everywhere. I think a lot of friends, but then friends of friends, and then people who knew like, journalists or who worked at like PR companies, they had gotten wind of that, and they were interested in kind of amplifying our story and sharing our story on their platform. So very, very early on, we were featured on a lot of publications. We had a whole spotlight on the Huffington Post. We had a very long video kind of interview with Money magazine in New York City. So that really kind of propelled our brand message and Nimble Made forward. We've been featured, in like Men's Health, Forbes. I think a lot of people really loved our story, and that's something that they wanted to share with other people. And so very, very early on, like year one, with nonstop podcast interviews, nonstop questionnaires, a lot of large kind of features, Wall Street Journal. We've been in a lot of them. And that stuff is great because you don't really have to pay for those. And I think that as a self-funded business, we're very kind of scrappy, very lean. Just, me and my partner, like, we're all about the hustle. So let's put all the sweat equity into it. So that definitely helped a lot at the beginning.
I feel like there's a lot more strategy to that than you might have already kind of been letting on. I heard you talking earlier about just what amounts to like a really well-defined kind of client avatar, right? Like, this is the type of person they are. This is where they work. This is the problems they have with their clothing. This is the height and the weight in many ways. Like, and then you talk about this strategy. I mean, there's so many businesses that the first year don't have, as you would say, like a compelling enough story to get featured in all these places. And yet you also talk about all the hustle. Like, you were on every podcast interview that you could find. But how strategic was this? Was there a plan in place to kind of pursue this type of PR as a lever to grow the business? Or did you find that, I don't know, maybe just because of how well-defined everything was for you, it slowly started landing in your lap?
I feel like us telling our story was very, very natural. So that wasn't something that was like, oh, here's the PR script that we're going to send to people. It was just very natural. We were just talking to friends, talking to people in our circles. But I think maybe when we had that first publication that had reached out to us, we're like, oh, this is something that actually works. We're getting some traffic from it. People are, buying shirts, our dress shirts. And so maybe we should reach out to more of these. And so I joined, a lot of Facebook groups, kind of like a Haro, or like places where journalists are looking for stories and you can pitch them. I was joining those groups. I was pitching myself in some of those Facebook groups. And so that's actually how I got the Money Mag video interview too. And so I think after that kind of initial, after that first few kind of hits, we were like, oh, let's try this out. And actually really try to push it.
Double down on it. It's working.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, how did you scale out the more operations side? How did you scale out your inventory? Was it something where you had to go back? I mean, are you on your same provider as you were from that initial launch, or have you guys had a lot of growth when it comes to that side of things?
I think we're very lucky to still be with the same supplier right now. Yes, yeah. I know. I feel like that was not really lucky. I would say we have a good eye and it was a good partnership, and we really were able to work together well. And so, thank goodness, because they have a very low MOQ, so we don't have to order so much inventory all at once. And not only that, because the MOQs are smaller, we can also make more styles. So that's why we have over 40 plus styles on our website now. It's great that we don't have to commit to buying all those units basically with them. So we still work with them. I think in terms of like operationally, I feel like the marketing part was definitely the hardest part for us. But, we're still able to be pretty lean and nimble because our supplier has those low MOQs.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like I've never run a clothing brand myself, but I feel like you've got the style of, let's say in your case, this specific dress shirt, right? So you have, like you said, a bunch of different styles. Then you've got colors, you've got sizes. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables here to where you have to have a good amount of inventory, even if you have a low order size. So that's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. The sizes, I mean, we are like a size inclusive brand. So the sizes, the fit is like the most important thing to us. We make what we like to call an actually slim fit, and it's sized by height and weight. So there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of calculations on our end that we have to do. We have to do a lot of testing. We have to like measure our friends, kind of borrow your arm, like measure your sleeve length and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of kind of trial and error there. And so we definitely are like a niche fit and a niche brand. We don't fit, I would say, the average male in the US. And so there was a little bit kind of, back and forth with the supplier, but thank goodness we can still work very well together today.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Did you know that you can find and fix your orphan pages in the WordPress dashboard with Link Whisper? An orphan page is an article you've published with no internal links pointing to it from other articles on your site. Why should you fix your orphan pages? Well, it makes your site easier to crawl for Google, which can lead to more search traffic and improve your UX for your visitors. With Link Whisper, there is no need for expensive crawlers and tedious spreadsheets. Link Whisper simplifies the entire process. The orphan page dashboard in Link Whisper shows which pages need attention. It even recommends the perfect anchor text for your internal links. Ready to revolutionize your site's internal linking? Try Link Whisper today. Use the code PODCAST and get $15 off your purchase.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Did you ever take advantage of paid ads to grow the business? A lot of e-commerce brands do. Did paid ads ever help you scale, or did you stay true to word of mouth pretty much all the way through?
Oh, no. So when we first started, we were very like, let's focus half of the marketing budget on Facebook ads and then half on SEO. And so we had a few freelancers that were doing that for us. We had gotten that started pretty early on too. Meanwhile, me and my partner were doing kind of like the word of mouth, like grassroots marketing efforts. We had a Facebook ad person, and then we had SEO freelancer. Actually, I think Colin Ma, he is one of the really active members of Niche Pursuits, so shout out to him. But he was our SEO freelancer. And so we have been doing both for a very long time, probably since we started the business. I would say on the paid ads front, very on and off. I would describe it as a love-hate relationship with it. Very expensive, really hard to lower down your costs. And so I feel like, especially when COVID hit in 2020, it just got so expensive.
Yeah.
Everyone was working from home.
Yep.
No one was really buying dress shirts or formal wear to work anymore. And so we turned that completely off, just double down on SEO. And so we've been majority SEO focused, sometimes a little bit of that paid performance ad on the side because of that love hate. Yeah, keeps coming back.
Okay. Yeah. Do you guys do paid ads now? Have you continued it, or is it something where you want to shut it down at some point and just move away from it?
Oh man. It's so funny because I think that if you talk to direct-to-consumer e-commerce founders who are just all in on meta ads, they'll always tell you they want to wean off of it. They want to get off of ads and they want to get organic traffic. And then I think those who are running the blogs or, who are doing things more organically, they're trying to make Facebook ads work. They're trying to boost up their traffic. They're trying to scale. And so it's really funny because the grass is always greener on the other side. To answer your question, we are doing meta ads right now, doing a little bit of Google ads right now. But I think I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm ready to turn it off again because I don't like it anymore.
I run a marketing agency, and everybody I talk to, if I'm like, are you running paid ads? And they're like, yes, but we hate it. I mean, that's basically summing up what everybody says, if I could just put it that way in a nutshell. But obviously that's being overly generalized, but no,
right.
I hear a lot of those same things echoed. Colin's great. Colin and I just hosted the weekly news podcast we do every Friday here on the Niche Pursuits channel. And so that's great. Talk about SEO. Let's get into some SEO. How influential is SEO in terms of the early days, how it grew, your focus on it, where it aids you now? Again, we said, like, just looking at kind of Ahrefs, you're ranking for some great keywords. It's clearly got to be helping in some way, but I'm curious about the journey you guys went on and how that evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started, we definitely had Colin, our freelancer for SEO. do SEO. And of course, when you have a new website, new name, take some time to get that website ranking. And so a lot of the times we were just having SEO like in the back of our minds. Okay, just, publish XYZ articles per month, do the backlink building, do the on page. Sure, that's fine. But we were really focused on the Facebook ads. And so I think because we kind of left SEO kind of in the back burner, just let them do the work and let that kind of grow over time. We didn't focus too much on it. But I would say probably around like in the 6 month or 8 month mark since we started the website and we started marketing efforts, that's kind of when we saw some of those rankings. And I think that it took us quite a while with SEO because we are in a very saturated market, unfortunately. Dress shirts, men's shirts, so many dress shirts online, so many dress shirts in department stores. And so unfortunately, it took us quite a bit longer to see significant numbers in terms of SEO. And so when we first started, it was kind of like, okay, let's just do this. Let's see what happens. And then we started to see, some better results, better numbers over time. And we're like, okay, great. And I think that around, like 2020, so about 2 years after we had been doing SEO kind of just in the back burner, we were like, wow, Facebook ads are just so expensive right now. Like no one's buying dress shirts, turn them off. It's okay. We have some traffic with SEO and let's just see where it takes us. And so during that kind of COVID time, we're like, okay, just go all in on SEO, like double the budget, double the number of articles, double the backlinks, double everything. That's fine. Just shift all that budget over. And we saw a lot of good results from there, I think, because we had been doing it already for 2 years and we had been doing it really consistently. And so after kind of those, after we had doubled down on everything, we're like, oh, this is great. Like, and then I think the world was in a better space post-COVID, I would say. And so we were like, okay, let's turn Facebook ads back on. And so we were kind of balancing both a little bit more. But I would say probably 2 years ago, or when ChatGPT really kind of went public, like everyone could use it, that's when I personally started to really accelerate the SEO efforts. I was like, oh, wait, I don't need to pay a writer, abroad to write this article for XYZ dollars. I can just, quote unquote, write it myself with ChatGPT. And so that was something I was testing a bit like a year and a half ago, or when it became really publicly available. And then I was like, wow, I'm just going to do an article a day and then just push out all of this content on the website, just pure SEO, just push it out. And then let's just see what happens. And so I'm a really big fan of testing. So let's just push 20 new articles out, just see what happens. And at that point, we've been around, 4 or 5 years already. So things rank a little bit faster, articles rank faster. And so I think those results looked really good to us. And we're like, okay, let's just keep doing this.
Well, it's performing really well, it looks like. I mean, you have a lot of number one rankings. Your blog content is really doing well. You've got your specific products ranking in many ways. What have been the big wins, if you could look at it? Like, has it been your specific content strategy? Has it been the backlinks and the emphasis for a long period of time on getting these kind of big PR mentions? Like, what do you think has given you that success with SEO that you have right now?
I think not only in SEO, but in general with the brand, is that very early on, we had crafted these user personas or kind of archetypes of who our customers might be. I think when we first started the business, it was really hard to kind of pinpoint. I think as like a user experience designer previously in the corporate space, I was very much about, user journey. What are the pain points? How can we alleviate these pain points? And so that was definitely an exercise I wanted to bring to the business. And so when we first started the business, it was very much like, wait, okay, are these like yuppies like us, like younger professionals? Are they, like an older generation? Are they even buying them for work? Like, we don't really know. And it's, I think that first year, after we had a year's worth of data and customers and order history or average order value, we could do a lot of that analysis into really pinpointing what the core demographic was for our business. I think that without that, it's really hard to market effectively, whether in SEO or paid Facebook ads. And so that was something that we did very early on. It was, okay, we have all this data, like who are they? Let's send out surveys. Let's ask them, where they live, what do they do for work, what are the pain points of finding a dress shirt in the market today, what doesn't fit well, what fits well, like what do you want to see from a company like us? So we had that kind of like qualitative feedback from our early customers, and then also just running a lot of the numbers from Shopify, from Ahrefs, from analytics, and just to see like, whoa, what landing pages were they spending the most time on? For example, like what pages were they bouncing super quick? And after that, we were able to really distill this archetype into like one kind of persona. And so I would say like today, Nimble Made's like primary customer demographic is he's a man who is 30 to maybe 55 years old. He works a white collar job in a metropolitan city like New York City, LA, and Charlotte, and he works in industries that are like in like finance, or he's a lawyer. And so we really kind of distilled it down, and I like to, put it together on like a one pager and just have that one pager like in the office or, like saved on your desktop. And having that is really helpful because when you're writing like email campaigns, or even when you're thinking about what photos to put on your website, what does the model look like? What kind of setting or environment is he photographed in? Is he wearing the shirt tucked in with a belt, or is he wearing it untucked in a more casual summer environment? Those things will help kind of tailor your marketing messages even clearer. And so that persona was really helpful to us early on. And to answer your question, when it comes to SEO, it really helped us narrow down the type of content or the content strategy that we were going to have. Are we writing about, what do you wear to a job interview? Or is it going to be something more casual, like fraternity boy outfits, which is an actual keyword that we rank for too. But it's kind of like deciding like what realms within the content we want to kind of just go really, really deep into. And so now in terms of the content strategy, we write a lot in regards to, queries that this kind of demographic might have. Oh, okay. Do I wear a tie to an interview? What are slacks versus dress pants? When do I wear my shirt untucked? How long should my tie be? Like, what's the proper tie length? How do I measure my neck, my neck size, my sleeve length? So those are kind of the topics that we go for.
It's clear you really understand your target market really well. You've kind of touched on that a number of different times already in the interview. On the flip side, you talked about ChatGPT and AI really helping you kind of proliferate your SEO efforts. I mean, if I were being overly summarizing about, let's say, a ChatGPT, it's not known for producing like really specific content that's tailored to a certain demographic, right? It's kind of often more generalistic. And so how did you blend those? How did you take this really targeted, kind of avatar or customer avatar that you have that you clearly defined well, you say is really important for what you're doing, and then also get that kind of content with a ChatGPT or an AI engine?
Yes, so I believe that's all in the prompt. I think working very effectively with ChatGPT is important because you're right. You don't want to just say this is the query, write an article. You want to say, okay, I have a menswear brand called Nimble Made. We've been around for 6 years. We do men's slim fit dress shirts. What would be a helpful article or even an outline for a man in his 30s to 50s who is searching this specific query? And so having that kind of context, I think, is really important when working with ChatGPT and getting that content kind of automatically populated. What we will also do is just human edit it a bit. We'll add a little bit more of a personal anecdote at the beginning and also at the end. For example, okay, my partner struggles with finding a dress shirt, and so I did a bunch of research, and this is an article that hopefully will help you as a working white collar professional. And so we'll human edit it a bit too to make it more tailored to our brand. And yeah, I mean it's pretty much that.
That's great. I mean, that's really good tips for people listening. I mean, if you can get that kind of specified content out of ChatGPT with prompting and then some human editing, and then obviously the results speak for themselves in terms of how well they've performed it and whatnot. I guess, what other, if there are any other, like what other marketing efforts or revenue channels have you guys taken advantage of to grow this? We've talked about ads a little bit disparagingly, but I get it. Not everyone's favorite thing, but SEO, word of mouth, the press mentions, or just press in general. Like, what other avenues have you guys pursued, whether it's successfully or unsuccessfully, to drive your marketing efforts and revenue?
Yeah, I would say these are probably a little bit early in their life stages, but last year we started a YouTube channel where we do helpful men's clothing content. So I have a video guy who makes a few videos a month consistently. And now our channel is very, very young, but we're just about on the brink of monetization or being approved for that. So that's great. That's definitely one way that we want to diversify our traffic a bit, is to have that YouTube channel. We'll like link the YouTube, or well, in the YouTube video, it'll be like, oh, these are Nimble Made dress shirts, hold it up, here's a tag, this is the brand name, call it out, and then include the links in the description as well. And so we do get, even today, I think maybe we have like 800 subscribers or something like that pretty early on. Even today, we get consistent clicks from YouTube right now to our website. So very early stages, but that's one thing we do. Also, that helps because in our blog content that we have so many of, we put those YouTube videos into those articles as well. So we get into more of a kind of like a content flywheel. And then we can put those videos in our email campaigns, put the content in our email campaigns. So it's like, oh, all works. It's like just repurposed, which is great. Outside of that, because we have a we have a decent online traffic, we started to act as a publisher. So we have display ads on our blog, which is really funny because we're both.
I noticed that.
We're both publisher and brand or merchant or advertiser. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the display ads. Yeah. So that's something you put on your blog, I'm guessing exclusively, probably not your product pages.
Definitely exclusively. That was a really big requirement of ours. They can only show the ads, obviously, on our blog articles. So we have the display ads, and we've been running that maybe for like a year now with Mediavine. And then most recently, I started doing some affiliate on our articles as well.
Wow. Okay, good. Early days, but pretty happy with like having the ads on there?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had any issues. I think that when we were working on the content strategy for SEO, there's just so many peripheral like keywords that work for us, like slacks, for example. But we don't sell slacks. We don't sell pants at all. We only sell these slim fit shirts. And so we were like, oh, well, we can still monetize these and have it help us in our rankings by showing Google that we are a subject matter expert when it comes to men's formal wear or office wear. And so it's almost like we should have the slacks, we should have the dress pants articles, we should have the tie articles, and then just figure out ways to monetize it later. And so that's kind of what we're doing now.
How big of a role does email play in what you guys do? I could see it being huge. I could see it being something you guys just don't really bother with.
Right now, we are sending about weekly. We're sending weekly campaigns. We do have the automated flows, going as well. So I would say they play a pretty good role in it. We have like pretty decent open rate, click-through rate, and it's just become so much easier because we have the content already from the articles. We have the YouTube video links already. So a lot of it is just plug and play. And because we have content strategy, we just apply that same content topic to this one email campaign. So it's really, really easy. It's really efficient. And so I would say it plays a pretty big role, I think, mostly because of the fact that our shirts are, they have unique sizes. So I actually have one here, but on the video, you can see we have like a N2. So we have sizes from basically a 0 to a 5, and these are our unique sizes. So you can't really find our fit anywhere else, like in any other department store. And so usually what happens from a customer like journey perspective is a customer goes on our site, buys a shirt, and they're like, wow, this actually fits really, really well. Like, this is the only size or brand that I can buy from, like, moving forward, because everything else is going to be different. And so I think email helps a lot because we can convert returning customers pretty well because And I also feel like with guys, they like to keep it really convenient, really simple. Hey, this is the brand that I'm going to buy from. I'm going to be loyal to this brand. And so email campaigns help us with just keeping kind of top of mind for those customers, but really they're coming back because they found the size that fits them really well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are, as we kind of start to wrap this all up here, as we start kind of bring it back together and kind of maybe look at the business right now from a high level, we've talked about all these different marketing channels and all these different things you guys have done over the years to grow it. Like, what are the most common places that your customers come from? And I'm trying to think in terms of the way you nurture them, the way they come to visit you. Do they buy right away? Do they come back? Are they repeat customers? Are they, I'm just trying to help us understand how this business, this e-commerce business and the direct to consumer side of it, like how you've grown and where you've kind of found that success, where the business that pays you the revenue every month comes from.
That's a great question. It's definitely from a number of places. I'm trying to think what's kind of like the primary experience. I would say so the time they are on Google and they're searching keyword like best slim fit dress shirts, that would be one. Obviously a more commercial kind of keyword, but even something that's more like informational, like how do I dress as a slimmer guy? We have a lot of these content articles, and they'll read this and then they'll click on a product link that we have on our article that directs them to maybe our fit guide that explains our fit, or directs them to our founder stories. Maybe that's something that resonates with them really well as a slimmer guy. And then they'll purchase. And then from there, it'll be email campaigns, or it will be social media retargeting ads that kind of keep us top of mind. Again, I think it's more so naturally that they like the product, so they come back. But I would say most of it right now is through SEO and through search queries.
What a cool story. I don't want to miss something. We touched on it very briefly, and I want to circle back on it as we're kind of coming to a close. And that is that fact that you quit your job to do this when it wasn't making any money. And I mean, that's probably, we could probably do an entire podcast on all of that right there. Like how you pulled it off, how you made it through until the business started paying you enough money, the strategies you used to grow it, to get it where it was earning money when you didn't have the cushion of another job. But if you could go back to that, and as there's so many people listening who are either working on a side hustle or have dreams of a side hustle, but are at that 9 to 5 or at that job working a lot of hours, can you talk through some of the emotions, how you navigated all that, how you persisted in that environment to get this business going when you didn't have another income stream?
I feel like it was just all only emotions, and such an emotional journey in that way. I want to say that I feel like if COVID had happened earlier and there was more of a work from home kind of environment, I almost feel like I would just stay at my corporate job while working from home, and then just work on Nimble Made on the side. I don't know. I feel like at that time it was very much an environment of I had to go into the office every day and be there for 55 hours a week, and then log on at night to then work on Nimble Made. It was just so tiring. But I think for us and in our scenario, we had around 6 months of savings saved up. So we were responsible, trying to be responsible adults, have some savings. I think that what helped me the most in terms of taking that leap of faith and quitting my job was thinking that the worst case scenario is just getting another job. And so that felt more comfortable for me. That might not be the thing for everyone, but for me, I knew that, I had big names on my resume. I'm very talented. I think I could get another job, worst case. And I honestly felt that if I explained to employers, say Nimble Made failed and I was trying to find another job, I could explain to them that I had this passion, I did a lot of hard work, and this is a full website, this full inventory that I have. That would be something that actually adds to my resume rather than explaining why there's a gap, in the resume. So I feel like it was really like a win-win for me. I also saw it kind of as a personal MBA because I knew I didn't want to pay tuition for like a formal MBA, and I really just want to just do things and be hands-on and just learn like as quick as possible. And so I saw it as kind of, like a sabbatical, like, okay, like take a break from the corporate job, look at it as a personal MBA. You're going to learn a lot from it. Worst case, just go back to another job. And so those are kind of the frameworks that I had in my mind that helped me feel better about leaving my job. That those may not be the ones for everyone. Like everyone has their own kind of comfort zones or like risk tolerances, but that was what it was for me. And so it was very hard. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. To this day, I feel like day to day, I'm like, oh, why didn't I just like, I just want to go back to a salary job with a single paycheck and health insurance, So it's up and down for sure. So it's not for everyone. And I totally think that you could do it working a corporate job at the same time too. It just depends depends on the individual person and what you like, what your strengths and your weaknesses are. But for me, I like to go, I'm a little crazy, so I like to go all in, just jump into the deep end.
I love it. I've said this before in the podcast. I've had a mentor say something along the lines of like, for certain ideas, jump off a cliff and build your wings on the way down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations. Whether you would change it or not, you're here where you're at, and it's a very, successful story. And I think it's inspirational for a lot of people listening, certainly. And then from a tactical standpoint, you shared so much. Where can people follow along with what you have going? Obviously, the website is Nimble Made. That's nimble-made, MADE.com. But, where else can people follow along with what you're doing?
Oh man, we're on every channel, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you'd like as well, be one of the early ones. Website for sure, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. We're on Pinterest as well. We're on Flipboard. Okay, that's a new one. And I'm building up my personal Reddit a bit, but yes, you can find us on all those kind of large platforms for sure.
Doing all the things for sure. Well done. Yeah. Let's see, Tanya. Thank you so much for coming on. This was, like I said, a healthy dose of both inspiration and tactical strategies to grow an e-commerce brand. So thank you for coming on board.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I've been a big fan of this podcast, so it's exciting to be on it.
Well, I'm glad you made it on as a guest. Thank you again for bringing so much value. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code PODCAST at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code PODCAST in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.